Okay, tonight is Mosiah chapter 8.
And it came to pass that after King Limhi had made an end of speaking to his people, for he spake many things unto them, and only a few of them have I written in this book, he told his people all the things concerning their brethren who were in the land of Zarahemla. And he caused that Ammon should stand up before the multitude, and rehearse unto them all that had happened unto their brethren from the time that Zenith went up out of the land, even until the time that he himself came up out of the land. And he also rehearsed unto them the last words which King Benjamin had taught them, and explained them to the people of King Limhi, so that they might understand all the words which he spake. And it came to pass that after he had done all this, that King Limhi dismissed the multitude, and caused that they should return every one unto his own house.
Okay, so you have the scene that we had left off with last week, where this king had also called the people together, kind of reminiscent of when King Benjamin called all the people together to speak to them. And so this King Limhi is speaking to the people and basically introducing Ammon and saying who he was and where he came from. And so when he finished speaking, he gave Ammon the chance to address the people. And I find it interesting as to what he was asked to do. He says, tell them what happened during the time that we've been away. A lot of time has passed. All right, see, it's probably, because you got to remember, this is the grandson of the guy who left. All right, so I don't even know how many people in this audience then were part of that, right? Where you have known what we're talking about. So they would probably been born. Anybody under the age of maybe 60 was born in this place. So it's not like they ever knew the other place, and so it seems a little unusual to me to catch us up on what's happened. And also, if it's been 60 or 70 years, so if I said to you, all right, so take 5 minutes. What has happened in the last 60 years here, right? It would be kind of an unusual request, right? Where would you start? All right, as I'm sure you just hit the highlights, and like you said, what would be of interest to these people? Say, well, this is who the king was, and it was a man named Mosiah. Then he passed it to King Benjamin, his son, and then to his son Mosiah. And as you notice in verse 3, it says, he even shares some of the words that King Benjamin had said. Remember, at the end, they wrote them down and passed them out to everybody, so everybody have their own copy of it. So I guess he was carrying it with him, so he was able to reference things that King Benjamin had said and share that with the people. So, like I said, he had the chance to address them, and so he did so and shared with them some of the highlights and some of the counsel that King Benjamin had given them.
And it came to pass that he caused that the place which contained the record of his people from the time that they left the land of Zarahemla should be brought before Ammon, that he might read them. Now as soon as Ammon had read the record, the king inquired of him to know if he could interpret languages, and Ammon told him that he could not. And the king said unto him, being grieved for the afflictions of my people, I caused that 43 of my people should take a journey into the wilderness, that thereby they might find the land of Zarahemla, that we might appeal unto our brethren to deliver us out of bondage. And they were lost in the wilderness for the space of many days. Yet they were diligent, and found not the land of Zarahemla, but returned to this land, having traveled in a land among many waters, having discovered a land which was covered with bones of men and of beasts, and was also covered with ruins of buildings of every kind, having discovered a land which had been peopled with a people who were as numerous as the hosts of Israel.
In verse 5, it says that he, the king Limhi, caused the place which contained the record of his people from the time they left Zarahemla should be brought before Ammon, that he might read them, and Ammon read them. All right, now what plates is he referring to here?
The ones that they kept.
The ones that they kept, all right? So you had Zenith setting up a separate group of people here, or a separate little kingdom, and so they kept their own records. They made their own plates and kept their own records. So for this 50, 60, 70 years, however long it's been, they have a running record of what's happened. So you can see they were a very record-keeping type of people back then, right? That everybody who set up their own little city or kingdom, whatever, they said, we got to keep records. We got to write down what's going on, and this way we have a record of what's happening. So that's in a lot of ways why we know what happened to them, because they kept records. Typically recognized as official plates when you talk about the plates of the Book of Mormon, but it is mentioned here, right? This was plates kept by Zenith. So down here somewhere, I'm going to put little tiny plates of Zenith. Okay. Like I say, if you look up any book that talks about the Book of Mormon and the plates, you'll never see that mentioned, right? It was a record that was kept, and it does contribute to the record that's in the Book of Mormon. So we're going to capture it down there in the lower right-hand corner. So he brought it to Ammon, and Ammon read it, so now Ammon was caught up on what was happening, right? And now he asked, the king asked him about interpreting languages, and that's going to come into play in the next section, so we're just going to skip that comment for the moment, right? Now in 7 and 8, he's talking about a little expedition that he sent to some of the people on. He picked out 43 people and asked them to go back and find the land of Zarahemla, where they had originally come from. So these were probably young men who were born right where they were, so they didn't know where Zarahemla was. There was no street signs, right, or there was no Google Maps or GPSs, okay, so they had no way to find their way. So as they went looking for a while, and they didn't find Zarahemla, but they found something else, right? And if you see in 8, it tells what they found. It says they were lost in the wilderness for the space of many days, all right? So not only didn't they find Zarahemla, but they were lost, right? And while they were lost, they stumbled onto this land, having traveled in a land among many waters, having discovered a land which was covered with bones of men and beasts, and also covered with ruins of buildings of every kind. Right? When they discovered the land, had been peopled with a people who were as numerous as the hosts of Israel. In other words, they found lots of bones. So, I mean, lots of people had died there, and I guess bones of animals, ruins of buildings. Okay, so they found basically a city, maybe a large city that had lots of people, and now they had all died, so there was nobody left. It's the city of the Jaredite people, okay, which is described in the book of Ether. Right, so that's the city that they stumbled onto. Okay, they stumbled onto the city where these people had been. And when you read the book of Ether, you see that by the end of the book of Ether, everybody's dead. Right, so that they had a big battle both sides. They killed each other off, and so this is what they found. What was left of that city, that all the dead, well, not dead bodies, but bones of the dead bodies and the ruins of the city. Okay, so this was the city that they stumbled onto.
And for a testimony that the things that they had said are true, they have brought 24 plates which are filled with engravings, and they are of pure gold. And behold, also, they have brought breastplates which are large, and they are of brass and of copper, and are perfectly sound. And again they have brought swords, the hilts thereof have perished, and the blades thereof were cankered with rust. And there is no one in the land that is able to interpret the language or the engravings that are on the plates. Therefore I said unto thee, canst thou translate?
Right, so it says for a testimony of what they found. In other words, they could have just been telling a story, I guess, but they brought stuff. They brought things that they found in this city. Right, and first and foremost, as it mentions in verse 9, it says there were 24 plates filled with engravings that were pure gold. All right, so 24 gold plates that were used to record their history. Okay, here in the middle somewhere, we're going to put 24 gold plates. Okay, so 24 gold plates, which were the ones that they found, because some of the information from those plates found their way into the Book of Mormon, right? Known as the Book of Ether. Okay, so the Book of Ether came from the 24 gold plates, so that can put into the book also. So these were not plates kept by any of these people; they were just found by them. But then they had information that they felt that they would share with us then through this publication. Okay, so the 24 gold plates, and then it says they found, they brought back other artifacts or items from that civilization, breastplates and swords and stuff, so that they had picked up some things to prove that they had found this ancient city. Right, so they brought back these artifacts, but the most valuable of which was the 24 gold plates. But they had a little problem with the 24 gold plates, and what was that problem? Right, so they couldn't read them, nobody could translate them, right, because they were written in a different language. The language that they would have spoken and written in, I assume, was the original language, okay, because at the time of the Tower of Babel, Jared and his brother and the people, all right, that they came from the Tower of Babel, and they prayed to God that their language would not be confounded. Everybody else's language was being changed so they couldn't understand each other, so they prayed that their language would not be confounded, and God answered their prayers, so they were able to communicate with each other, so they kept the original language. But as Brother David says, they were the only ones, I guess, who kept the original language, because everybody else had their language changed something else. So the Nephites, all these people would have spoken something different than what the original language was, and so therefore it would have been a totally different language than what the Jaredites would have spoken and recorded. This was the language that produced these 24 gold plates. So the problem being now that Limhi had is, well, thank you 43 people for bringing these plates back, but now I can't read them, right? So nobody knows what they said. So now I'm curious as to what they said, because this was obviously the record of these people in this city that was there in ruins, that was 2,000 years old, or you know how old it was at the time, and I'd like to know what the story is with them, right? So therefore he's asking Ammon, look, can you translate this, right? I can't read it, can you tell me what it says? And that's what he was looking for. That's why he asked him earlier if he could interpret languages, because he wanted somebody who could tell him what this said.
And I say unto thee again, knowest thou of any one that can translate? For I am desirous that these records should be translated into our language. For perhaps they will give us a knowledge of a remnant of the people who have been destroyed, from whence these records came. Or perhaps they will give us a knowledge of this very people who have been destroyed. And I am desirous to know the cause of their destruction. Now Ammon said unto him, I can assuredly tell thee, O king, of a man that can translate the records. For he has wherewith that he can look and translate all records that are of ancient date. And it is a gift from God. And the things are called interpreters, and no man can look in them except he be commanded, lest he should look for that he ought not, and he should perish. And whosoever is commanded to look in them, the same is called seer. And behold, the king of the people who are in the land of Zarahemla is the man that is commanded to do these things, and who has this high gift from God.
As he's asking him, can you interpret these records? Can you tell me what it says? And so, he said, I can't do it, but I can tell you somebody who can. All right? And I think you got that first, all right? If you can't do it yourself, can you tell me somebody who can? And he said, I can. And who is that special person? In 14 it says, behold, the king of the people who are in the land of Zarahemla is the man that's commanded to do these things, who has the high gift from God. Right? King Mosiah would be the seer who's able to do this. All right? So he knew that the king had this gift from God as a seer, and so he first described what a seer would be and what he would be able to do in 13. He says, what you really need is this man with special gifts, and they call a seer, because then he can look in these things called interpreters, and using the interpreters he can translate that language to this language. Right? And happy for us, we happen to have a seer that we know, which is the king where I came from, which would be King Mosiah. All right? So if we can get these plates back to that king, then we can figure out what they say. Do you know what the interpreters are that it references in verse 13? What it was, it's really like glasses. Right, it would be like spectacles, and again, whether it's the kind we have today with this, or whether it was just something they held up, I'm not sure. But yeah, it had like a frame, and it had the pieces of glass in each one that they would look through, and those were the interpreters. Now, when it talks about two stones in there, they refer to that as stones, right? It wasn't a stone like a stone we would throw today, but if you were describing in ancient terms glasses when nobody wore glasses. Right, they say it's these frames with these two stone type things in there that you look through, right, and then you see something. In this case, you see what the other language is, right, that they were able to see the language they were trying to interpret it into. How come anybody couldn't use that? I mean, anybody can look through it and see the other language, is that right?
Only if God wanted you to.
Only if God wanted you to. Okay, and that's an important point, right? So like in 13 it says, no man can look at them except he be commanded, lest he should look for that he ought not and should perish, right? So really trying to use it when you weren't supposed to, God didn't think too favorably of that, all right? So really it was only for somebody whose gift was to be a seer. So it was a seer instrument, or sometimes called a seer stone, and that was for the seer to use. And if you try to use it when you weren't the seer, then who knows what's going to happen, is you could perish, right? So you didn't want to be using it if you weren't supposed to be using it.
And the king said that a seer is greater than a prophet. And Ammon said that a seer is a revelator and a prophet also, and a gift which is greater can no man have, except he should possess the power of God, which no man can. Yet a man may have great power given him from God. But a seer can know of things which are past, and also of things which are to come, and by them shall all things be revealed, or rather shall secret things be made manifest, and hidden things shall come to light, and things which are not known shall be made known by them, and also things shall be made known by them which otherwise could not be known. Thus God has provided a means that man, through faith, might work mighty miracles, therefore he becometh a great benefit to his fellow beings.
Right, so upon hearing this description of a seer, the king Limhi now, it says, wow, that's a great calling. That's higher than a prophet. And Ammon says that not only it is higher than a prophet, but it even includes what a prophet would do. As you see, it says in 16, it says a seer is a revelator and a prophet also, right? So that a prophet, as we understand it, like many of the prophets that we read in the Old Testament, so that he could have prophecy. A revelator, it says, as it's describing further, it says he can see things in the future, things in the past, right? The secret things would be revealed to him. So basically, all the mysteries of God could be brought forth through this person who's the seer, prophet, seer, and revelator. Okay, so obviously it would be a high calling, and one that God would entrust only to certain people, and so this way he could bring out information through this person.
And now, when Ammon had made an end of speaking these words, the king rejoiced exceedingly, and gave thanks to God, saying, doubtless a great mystery is contained within these plates, and these interpreters were doubtless prepared for the purpose of unfolding all such mysteries to the children of men. Oh, how marvelous are the works of the Lord, and how long doth he suffer with his people, yea, and how blind and impenetrable are the understandings of the children of men, for they will not seek wisdom, neither do they desire that she should rule over them. Yea, they are as a wild flock which fleeth from the shepherd, and scattereth, and are driven, and are devoured by the beasts of the forest.
So the king, upon hearing this, he's excited, right? Says, this is great. I've been sitting on these plates for how long now, and wishing I could tell what they said, and now you're telling me that you know somebody who can do this, right? Who can interpret these for us. So he's saying in 19, it says, doubtless a great mystery is contained in these plates, and the interpreters were prepared for the mystery of unfolding these kind of mysteries, or the purpose of unfolding these kind of mysteries to the children of men. All right, so he's excited that they're going to find out these mysteries and find out what the plates say, right? And so he's anxious to now get these plates back to the King Mosiah so they can be interpreted. Hey, these 24 gold plates were sitting there for 2,000 years. I mean, they were pure gold, so I think if somebody would have found them, they would have grabbed them up just for the gold, if nothing else. So they were, so God had a way of preserving these until such times they could be found by somebody who would use them for the right purpose, which is to bring forth this information. So the king was happy to have them, and now he's happy to have somebody who can interpret them. Verse 20 is, oh, how marvelous are the works of the Lord, how long do they suffer with his people, yea, and how blind and impenetrable he understands children of men, they will not seek wisdom, okay, and there was a wild flock. So right, so the question is, who is he referring to with that? And so that would be the question. And I mean, if he's referring to the people who were dead, right? I mean, you can see that their civilization died off, and so the fact there were many bodies would indicate that something went wrong there. All these swords and everything lying around, so it would probably evidence that they killed each other. So then he would figure they killed each other, and so they killed their own civilization off. So they're not obviously listening to the leadings of God in that, but just resorting to wars and contentions. The evidence that was found indicated what the end of the story was, right? But the plates are going to tell them what the beginning is and whether the whole story was leading up to that, and to see why it was that they would have killed each other off. And the story is in fact told on those plates.